to the Michigan International Speedway and the worst injury of a 28-year career, and more valuable points are lost.
There's no question that the points are very important. The chase is really tight, obviously, and but points or no points, I think I'm medically and physically able to go back to work.
These two veterans from different hemispheres enter the Domino's Pizza 500 separated by a single point. They made hay while the sun shined. It rained in Elkhart Lake, and a dark cloud of injury kept Mario on the sidelines. Fittipaldi ignored a misfiring engine and produced a late race surge to fifth. Unser couldn't duplicate the feat, but his seventh-place finish produced this, a virtual second start on the points race. Essentially a three-way tie among legends who have accumulated 5 national and 3 world championships. Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Pocono International Raceway. I'm Larry Nuber. There has been some 11th hour drama this morning, late this morning here at Pocono. It involves Kevin Kogan and Michael Andretti. Jack Garrett is down in the pits and has been covering the story.
Larry, early today, Kevin Kogan, Michael Andretti, and their entire party were departing from Andretti's summer cottage in the Poconos via a helicopter. As the helicopter took off, it hit some high-tension wires and went back down and had a crash. All of the people that were inside the helicopter, however, are all right. For Michael Andretti, however, there's been recurring back spasms, and there was some question as to whether he would start today's Domino's Pizza 500. He has been cleared by the CART official doctor, Dr. Steve Olvey. He's standing by the car, getting ready to strap himself in. There is no consideration for a relief driver, but badly shaken is Andretti and also Kevin Kogan. Let's go back upstairs to Larry Nuber.
Well, under the circumstances, very good news. We are here at Pocono for the third leg of the 1985 Triple Crown season for Indy cars. We're happy to welcome to our microphones today Gordy Johncock, a man who has won the Indianapolis 500 2 times. And up front here at the Pocono race today, there have been some nice surprises, including the return of Mario Andretti.
Well, yes, there has, Larry. There's several guys here that are not in too good a condition to run this race, but believe me, when they get out there on the racetrack and their mind gets on racing, they're going to forget about their injuries. I've experienced that myself.
Well, something else that Gordy has experienced over the past couple of seasons have been injuries. Rick Mears has gone through similar experiences in 1985. It's been a frustrating year, but this weekend has been a shining star.
Well, yes, he has. He's on the pole with a new track record, and like I say, when Rick gets out there and gets a running, he's going to forget about his feet, and he's going to be a tough competitor today. You can believe that.
Well, as Gordy mentioned, Mario's here and raring to go, and Gary Lee is down in the pit area in Mario's area.
It was just 3 weeks ago that Mario Andretti suffered a broken right collarbone and a fracture of the right hip joint in the Michigan 500. He is walking with the aid of a crutch. He is racing with the aid of special padding in the cockpit. In sprint car racing, we call it a seat horn. It wraps around the chest area, so consequently the stress is taken by the chest and not the broken right collarbone. There is special padding down next to the hip and also on the right shoulder belt. The padding is this material here. It is Biosoft polymer, manufactured by a company called Spenco Medical in Waco, Texas. It's used for bicycle seats in bicycle racing and special racing gloves in bicycle racing. It has the consistency of tapioca pudding, but watch this. Just fold it over once. Obviously, I'd break my fist to do that without the padding. It should be the padding of the future. Larry?
All right, thank you, Gary. Another driver who is overcoming injuries to race here at Pocono this week is Al Unser Jr., and Jack Garrett is there.
Thank you, Larry. The loving arms of crew chief Dennis Swan will be required to put his driver, Al Unser Jr., into the Domino's Pizza Hot One. This is the way that Unser's been having to get in and out of the car throughout practice and qualifying this weekend. They say in order to be tough, you've got to play tough. And for Al Unser Jr., today's run in the Domino's Pizza 500 may indeed mark him as a true superstar of the future. Let's go back upstairs to Larry Nuber.
Jack, thank you very much, and that is true dedication. Today's Domino Pizza 500 is being brought to you by Dodge, a performance revolution, an American revolution. And by the STP Corporation. On the world's racetracks, on the world's roads, depend on STP, your car care company. And by Goodyear, makers of the high-performance radial, the Eagle. And by Pennzoil Motor Oil, quality protection, ask for it.
Ladies and gentlemen, here's Mr. Tom Monahan for those famous words. Gentlemen, start your engine. And the starting command has been given by Mr. Tom Monahan.
Andretti in there tough.
Gotcha. Bobby Rahal getting all ready to go. Phil Kruger, one of the surprise entries here at Pocono this weekend, as this starting field will be starting 3 abreast here at one of the 500s of the IndyCar season. Danny Sullivan, who has qualified so very well in 1985, he now has a string of 7 races in which he's finished first or second. That is concentration. Rick Mears, who sits on the pole, the brand new track record, looks like he is all ready to go. This would be a very big win if Rick Mears could pull it off. The Domino's Pizza balloons, red, white, and blue, ascend to the sky as the starting field awaits the second command, the first being, gentlemen, start your engines, to roll off for this 500-mile race. Near the back of the field, there is one of the new entries of this week here on the IndyCar scene. Kruger, we saw him a little earlier. Steve Chassis, who was unable to complete his qualifying run, flanks him on his right. The front row, Mears, Sullivan, and Rahal. This area of the country, Pocono, Pennsylvania, used to be known as one of the vacation spots of America. It was also a very popular place to go on honeymoon, but this racetrack, Gordy Johncock, has changed all of that. There's a lot of racing lore now that's being built here in eastern Pennsylvania.
Well, yes, there is. There's a lot of fans that come from New York, New Jersey, out this way to watch the race. It's normally a very exciting race here. It's very tough to get set up for this track.
Gordy, we're used to seeing a powder blue or sky blue helmet behind the wheel of number 20. The helmet is still there, but the name is different.
Well, that's right, Larry. As you know, I retired on May 10th of this year, and Sammy Swindell is in the car on the Opus.
Well, as we mentioned to you earlier, Rick Mears is on the pole with a brand new track record. He qualified in at better than 203 miles an hour today. Here is the starting grid for today's Domino's Pizza 500. Pole setter Rick Mears, 203.532 is how the digits read out. He'll start on the inside of the front row. Rapid Danny Sullivan, Louisville, Kentucky, 202 miles an hour, middle of row number 2. Or row number 1, I beg your pardon. On the outside, Bobby Rahal. Now, these will all be marches. When Lolas and Eagles are in the field, we'll so designate. Michael Andretti hopes to recover from that drama this morning. You start on the inside of row number 2. And in the middle, another Texan, Johnny Rutherford from Fort Worth, the Vermont American Alex Foods March. On the outside of row number 2, Al Unser, the surprise of the 1985 season, the Hertz Special. Row number 3, the winner of the Michigan 500, Emerson Fittipaldi from Brazil. His car is sponsored by the 7-Eleven Corporation. In the middle, Kevin Kogan, also involved in that helicopter incident this morning, the Craco Wolf System Special. And on the outside, the injured Al Unser Jr., driving the race's sponsored car, Domino's Pizza Hot One. In row number 4, father Mario Andretti, after that great early season drive, he now starts on the inside of row 4 in his Lola. In the middle, Jeff Brabham, the Australian who has moved to California in the Coors Light Silver Bullet. Oval specialist Pancho Carter, moving from California to Indiana and now driving the Valvoline Hawk. The rest of the starting grid in row 5, Roberto Guerrero, Scott Brayton, and Danny Ongayas. In row number 6, Ed Pym will be on the inside with A.J. Foyt, who was faster earlier in qualifying this weekend, in practice rather, is in the middle, and Jose Legarza on the outside. In row 7, Tom Steva, he'll have to come from the back of the pack, Huddy Holmes and Dick Simon. In row number 8, Dennis Firestone, Sammy Swindell in the middle, and Dale Coyne on the outside. That's a Lola. And in row 9, the last row here this afternoon at Pocono, Phil Kruger, Steve Chassis, and Tom Bigelow. Today, as always on ESPN broadcast, we'll be attempting to hook up with some selective drivers via the radio, and one that would certainly be appropriate is Michael Andretti. Michael was involved in a very dramatic incident trying to get to the racetrack here today, and I want to check in with Michael. Michael, this is ESPN, Larry Nuber. How's it feeling out there, Michael?
I heard you, Michael. I didn't guess they're not coming on. Maybe that's have a problem. Over.
Well, right now, Michael is still trying to communicate with this pit crew as they're making those last-minute conversations and decisions about running this 500-mile race, and we'll give it another shot. Michael, this is Larry Nuber up in ESPN Control. Does everything now seem to be under control for you?
Hey, Larry, this is Al Jr.
Well, we had a little bit of a bobble there. This is Al Jr. Al, you're trying to come back from injuries this weekend. I know turn 2 at slower speeds was a problem, but how's it feel now?
The echo's got stronger since the first day I got it.
I think they tried, Michael, but they haven't got through yet. Over.
Okay, over.
Well, Al also involved in those very important pit conversations before the green flag flies here. Jeff Brabham in the Coors Light Silver Bullet, the Rick Gallos machine from down in New Mexico, talking about Al Unser Jr., that's his hometown, comes into the pits here prematurely on one of 3 pace laps that will precede this 500-miler. Jeff, who has been very close to winning a couple times this year, may have to start from the back of the pack if he can't get back out there, Gordy, in time.
Well, yes, he will, but it seemed like the last race they done this, they came in. I don't know if they were trying to get the last-minute fuel, but it doesn't look like it. It looks like they got a problem with the car here.
Well, the front row continues to motor around and set the pace here in preparation for the Domino's Pizza 500. You know, something else that's become a tradition on ESPN broadcast are those of us who are monitoring this race and trying to make the call for you, picking drivers that we think will perform well, maybe win this race. And you know, Gordy, it's easy when you wait until about lap number 180, but here with 200 laps to go, selecting the winner of the race might become a difficult call. Before this morning, I got to tell you that I really liked the chances of Michael Andretti and Kevin Kogan. I felt that both of them showed a lot of confidence early on, but this morning has got to shake them. Looking toward a winner, my call, I keep thinking that Rahal is due. And right now, I guess early on, I would go with Bobby Rahal. Well, how about you?
Well, certainly, you know, all 3 guys in the front row have had a lot of problems this year. Rick and Sullivan and Rahal. And I got to feel that not just because they're in the front row and running the quickest, but it's got to, I believe, almost be one of their turns.
Now, theoretically, because they're closer to the action, our pit reporters should be a little better at this than we are. So let's give them a shot. Gary Lee, your pick.
The only guy to win the Triple Crown, Big Al Sr.
Well, certainly, if you look at his performance up till now, Al Sr. looks like he's due. Would you agree with that, Jack Arute?
I'm afraid, Larry, that I'll have to. I think Al Sr. has run so well, especially in 500-mile contests this year, and you can't beat the knowledge upstairs. That's what's so important when you come and talk about Al Unser Sr.
Well, it's unanimous down in the pit area, at least. Al Unser to win the Domino's Pizza 500. We'll be back with the exciting start of today's 500-miler from the Pocono, Pennsylvania mountains right after this. Mentioned at the top of the show that the weather is threatening. As a matter of fact, there have been sprinkles of rain all this morning, but nothing heavy enough to stop the race. The temperature, 65 degrees. The winds from the southeast at 5 to 15 miles per hour and gusting. The chance of sunshine is only 5%. The humidity, kind of a moderate 60 degrees. And the skies right now, very overcast. Getting ready to start this 500-mile race. Gordy, when you start 3 abreast, no matter how big the racetrack is, no matter how many rows are involved, you've got to pay attention, don't you?
Well, you certainly do, especially more so at Indianapolis you do here at Pocono. You have a real wide straightaway here at Pocono, and it certainly does help. And they repaved it recently, and it's pretty good.
Rick Mears will bring the field down. It's a 3/5 of a mile long front stretch. Nick Fornaro looking over the field. They seem to be in perfect alignment. The green flag is out. The Domino's Pizza 500 is underway. The front row is 4, maybe 5 abreast going into turn 1. Looks like Danny Sullivan, for about the umpteenth time in 1985, emerges on top. Sullivan has led so many of these IndyCar races in the early stages of this season, and Sullivan streams down the long pond backstretch. There is Michael Andretti going to the inside of Danny Sullivan, and Michael Andretti looks for the early lead. Michael Andretti leading through turn 2, the tunnel turn, down the short backstretch. Sullivan chasing Andretti has come from row 2, the 4th starting position. It's Andretti. Sullivan coming on to the backstretch. Well, just maybe, Gordy, I outguessed myself. I said I really felt that Kogan and Michael Andretti were maybe poised on the edge of greatness, and if the first lap was an indication, Michael's feeling real racing.
Well, he's running real great. His car must be performing real well. He got a jump on him coming down the front straightaway here, and he was second going into turn 1, and then after they come out of turn 1, he passed Sullivan going down the back straightaway.
What a great moment this would be for Michael Andretti. This is, in effect, his home racetrack. This is one of the few racetracks, no, the only racetrack on the trail around the world where Michael and Mario can sleep in their own beds at night. This is a racetrack where they go home to home-cooked meals, they watch the television, watch the late news, get up early in the morning, and as we heard, they helicopter to the racetrack normally without incident. Michael Andretti continues to hold the early lead here as lap number 2 is completed. Sullivan nestles down there in second position, but Michael has put some distance, Gordy, between himself and Danny Sullivan. There you see the interval, and Andretti has opened up about a football field.
Well, yes, he has, and also Sullivan is about the same distance ahead of third place. The two in front are running real quick and real smooth. They look real good out there.
Now, in a 500-mile race, pit stops become critical because there are so many of them. Cars figure to stop 7 or maybe 8 times, depending upon the number of caution flags you have that can really adjust how many times you are required to stop. Now, third place is also contested right now. Running in third position at the end of lap number 3 was Rick Mears, but as you can see, Penske yellow is right there on his tailpipe. Bobby Rahal now has moved into third position. There's Rahal in the Budweiser 2 Sports car, and Rick Mears in the Pennzoil number 5, the Penske car, is in 4th position. Gordy, how much of this is serious racing and how much of this is just for show?
Well, they're all trying to just kind of hold their position right now. You know, it's just the very beginning of the race, and especially the pros that are up here front, including Michael. You know, they're just trying to hold their position and get their car working well where they know they can perform at the end of the race. Rahal looks like he's doing much better today than he did at Elkhart Lake. He's not scrubbing the bottom, so...
That is Texan John R. Johnny Rutherford. You know, he has struggled in the 1985 season, but right now, Johnny Rutherford has moved up into the number 5 position unofficially. He was just able to dispose of Al Unser Sr. Rutherford has had a good week. He has been among the 10 fastest drivers all weekend long. In practice on Thursday and Friday, qualifying on Saturday, and he comes into today's race. It's like a homecoming for Johnny. This is the kind of racetrack that he excelled on back in the 1970s, the late 1960s. He was very anxious to race at Pocono, almost as an atonement for this season so far, Gordy.
Well, yes, you know, this is a new team for him this year, and it takes a little bit to get with it. You start working with new people. It takes you a little time to get confident in your pit crew and get settled down to where you can really perform right.
Johnny Rutherford, a former USAC sprint car champion, a man who we saw win for the first and only time, as a matter of fact, on a road course at Mid-Ohio back in 1980. And Rutherford looks like he is ready to deal and duel with the best of them this afternoon here at Pocono. You know, the threatening weather has other ramifications other than just delaying this race. The CART officials will have the option of this in this race, if it is stopped after 100 laps, of declaring it a race. Now, Gordy, what do you think? If you were in a car trying to make decisions like that, would you be thinking, hey, if it rains and we have completed only 101 laps, they may call this thing. Do I got to get to the front earlier than usual?
Well, your pit crew will kind of keep you. You know, you're really not thinking about that out there running on the track. Your pit crew is more or less paying attention to that. I know the STP Patrick Racing team, a lot of times in the weather like this, they even had a pilot up there in the airplane talking to them down, you know, telling them about the weather. So you know what to do. You know, you could turn up your boost. If you knew it was going to rain, you could turn up your boost and get to the front. So you could be up there in case a yellow did come out.
Well, there is Bobby Rahal running in third. Johnny Rutherford is moving up, but what a performance by Michael Andretti.
I talked with the Craco Electrolux crew, and I said, why is he out in front? Did he simply get a good hole shot? They said he's been starting well all season. He's had great starts. But remember, how can you formulate a pre-race strategy when you have a helicopter crash in the morning? So right now, Michael is just feeling great.
Well, pre-race strategy or not, Michael Andretti is showing nothing but rear tires and an exhaust pipe to the rest of the field. I gotta believe that everybody is a little surprised. This is like Indianapolis of last year, Gordy, but I don't think anybody really anticipated Michael Andretti, particularly after what happened this morning, to be dominant this early in the race.
Well, I think the drivers are surely thinking about him. They know, you know, that he's capable of doing it. And like I say, he got a good jump here coming down the front straightaway on the start of the race and was able to go into second into the turn one and then pass going down the back straightaway. But he seems to be pulling away, so his car must be working exceptionally well at this time.
But remember that Michael is a part of a two-car team, and already lapping begins as you see Michael coming down the long front stretch. He's part of a two-car team, and some people may have offered some criticism about that as the season wore on. But in recent weeks, this Craco two-car team really seems to be coming on.
Michael Andretti, in all types of sports, we have momentum. And it would seem that you are beginning to pick up the momentum. You've had some great finishes recently, and you have to be thinking, when's that win going to come?
Yeah, I think that's true. We seem to have the ball rolling again, and I just hope we can keep it rolling. Things so far here at Pocono have been going quite well, and I'm pretty happy with it. So, you know, I think you can expect a win hopefully soon.
500 miles on a 2.5-mile track that translates to 200 laps, so don't get excited if you're a Michael Andretti fan. Things are going real well right now, but we have only completed 8 laps. Bobby Rahal has been able to get around Danny Sullivan, and Rahal, the man who now lives in the shadows of Columbus, Ohio, there will be a IMSA race, by the way, for the first time later this season, has now moved into second position. Sullivan holds on the third, and Sullivan has got to be thinking, boy, things are going right well now, but I've had so many problems in recent weeks. There is Bobby Rahal running right now in second position. Sullivan has got to be worried. Is that old bugaboo of the Gremlin's going to jump up and grab you again? What do you think, Corey?
Well, I don't think he's really thinking about that right at the moment. You know, maybe later on in the race when the cars get scattered out a little bit and he's really not right here running hard, you know, trying to stay in position. I don't think he's thinking about that right now, but it might start working on him a little bit towards the end of the race.
There you see Andretti going by. Rahal continues to run in second, and Sullivan is in third position. Jack Arute?
Larry, there's a problem down here, and it's called rain. Precipitation is beginning to fall fairly evenly here on pit road, and this could be problems for the entire Domino's Pizza 500.
Well, what that means, of course, a lot of judgment calls on behalf of CART and the officials assembled here in the Pocono Mountains. Remember, these cars are not equipped to run in the rain, and particularly on a high-speed oval. You know, the average qualifying speed was above 200 miles an hour. As a matter of fact, 9 of them qualified faster than that. So it won't take too much rain at all to cause some trouble and to at least temporarily bring a halt to this race. We'll be back after these messages, and we'll see, will the rain have a major effect on the Domino's Pizza 500? Mr. Senior flashing through your frame there in that bright yellow Penske car leading this pack right now. Senior is being shown unofficially in the 4th running position, but the story of the race so far, young Michael Andretti, who has never won an IndyCar race. There goes Danny Sullivan, I believe. Yeah, Danny Sullivan, who lost a position earlier in this race to Bobby Rahal. Sullivan running unofficially in the 3rd spot right now, but Michael Andretti is showing nothing taken away from the race. There is dirt track star Sammy Swindell, who, despite crashing in practice yesterday, was able to qualify for this race. Gordy, you know, we said that for Michael Andretti to dominate this race early on as we watch Al Unser Sr., it may not have been so surprising to a lot of the competitors, but maybe the fans didn't really expect this.
Well, if they've been watching racing, especially the last 2 or 3 races, Larry, they know that he's been coming on. Last year he done real well. This year, you know, he's with the same team, but it goes that way some years. The first part of the season, they could just do nothing right. They really weren't competitive.
There isn't a surprise in terms of point gathering for 1985, that yellow car, Al Unser Sr., and there's the man who won this year's Indy 500, Danny Sullivan. He has 2 career 500-mile victories in just 6 races, a 333 batting average, good enough for any major league in 500-mile races. As a matter of fact, the team that he races for, Penske Racing, they've been very successful in 500-milers. Al Unser Sr., of course, is the man who is the only one to ever win all 3 races in the IndyCar Triple Crown. That was done back in the decade of the 70s. And frankly speaking, Gordy, you know, I didn't think that anybody would really win 3 IndyCar race 500-milers in a single season.
Well, it's tough, Larry. I come close to doing it. In 1982, I won the Indianapolis, I won the Michigan. I came here to Pocono and was running second, but there was no way that I could have won it. But with 6 laps to go, the car broke.
Michael Andretti has just made his way through some slower traffic, and it's given Rahal a little bit of an opportunity to catch up. Don't know right now, there's Rahal in the background there in the center of your screen, now near the top. If it was an opportunity to catch up, or if Rahal has Michael in his sights and is just keeping pace. Now, as Jack reported, Gordy, it's beginning to rain. Now, what do you think's going on in both these guys' minds? Does that mean that I got to get to the lead in case something specific happens?
Not really, I don't think, this early in the race, and they really might not even be knowing. You know, they're traveling so fast out there, and no harder than it might be raining. They might not even know it at the time.
Well, there is Dad, Mario Andretti, that red car right now, which is leading the teammate of Michael Andretti, Kevin Kogan. Mario's being shown in 9th position, and Kevin Kogan in 10th.
Kevin just passing him.
Going down the backstretch, 2/3 of a mile right there, going into the tunnel turn, the roughest part on this racetrack, but the Indy cars have really done well. They really seem to be able to smooth that out this week. Kevin Kogan has now moved up to 9th position. And talking with Kevin a little earlier this week, Kevin also exuded a great deal of confidence. There is Mario running in 10th, running comfortably right now, but not as fast as we have been accustomed to see him run the early part of the season. But Kogan said, you know, I think I have a chance at winning this one. There are the two leaders again moving up on the slower traffic, and Rahal has really closed the advantage that Michael Andretti once held. Let's watch this closer, moving to the inside of Jeff Brabham, who had some problems in the earlier part of the race. And there is Al Jr. in the red, white, and blue Domino's Pizza car, and Al Sr., or make that Rick Mears, who right now leads Al Unser Jr., who, remember, is racing hurt. Now, at this part of the race, Gordy, is it possible for Al Unser Jr. to check out and assess just how that leg injury, how that ankle injury is going, and maybe get an idea this is not going to be as much of a problem as I thought?
Well, I think so. You know, unless it's really bothering him, he's not even going to be thinking about it when he's out there running, especially when he's running up here for positions right now. He seems to be running real well, and I doubt very much if it's bothering him whatsoever.
They're going at it for 6th position. Al Jr. moves to the inside of Rick Mears, takes over the number 6 spot, and Rick Mears is relegated to 7th. Al Unser Jr., who started this race today in the 9th position, has improved his lot in life by 2. He wanted to go just a little faster, and now the leader's coming in. Michael Andretti, and the wheel has come off, and it's rolling down the pit lane. The pit lane. Lots of drivers, or lots of crew members, rather, being along the pit wall there, and that wheel is bouncing wildly, and now finally coming to a stop. What a disappointment for the man who had dominated this race, and it looked like he had a clean shot at winning his first ever Indianapolis car race. Michael Andretti losing a wheel. I guess if it had to happen, it happened at a good place. It was right near the entrance to the pits.
Well, yes, it did. Luckily, nobody got hurt. But that's really strange. You can understand that right after a pit stop, but running this long and it coming off, that's kind of strange.
Gary Lee is there.
Because they really took the crew by surprise when he came storming in here, minus the right front.
Well, Gary was near the Michael Andretti pit as he came in, and fortunately that wheel not striking any crew member that was positioned along the wall as they are there with the boards, and that wheel didn't come off, Gordy. Obviously, Michael had some type of warning. He got down in the pit area before the wheel actually departed from the car.
Yes, he certainly felt it. There's no question about that. He felt it. That's why he was coming in, and luckily it didn't come off until he just entered the pit area.
Well, that certainly has to give you second thoughts, though, when you go back out.
You got it slowed down. If that had happened to him going into number 1 turn, he could have very well been in serious problem.
Now, the number 1 turn is 14 degrees in banking. It's the highest bank, at least according to the speculations, or rather to the specifications that were given by the racetrack. But it is a corner that seems to be banking perhaps just a little more than what the books would say, Gordy.
Well, they say number 3 corner here is banked 6 degrees, but to me, and number 2 is banked 8. But, you know, I think that corner is a little bit flatter than that. It certainly seems like it to me.
Bobby Rahal has just moved underneath Michael Andretti. Not for the lead, but to put Michael 1 lap down. Now, the question becomes, as Michael is, as they say in the South, figuring up and checking out that race car. Is that going to happen again? I would like to get my lap back in case there is a caution flag. That's Rahal, the leader. Andretti is not in second position. There are still about 10 or 12 cars that are on the lead lap, but Michael Andretti in that blue and yellow Craco car is now a lap down. They're working on Tom Sneva.
Well, certainly, Michael's going to try and get back ahead of Rahal in case a yellow comes out, and then he can go back around and be on the same lap to get his lap back, and he is quick enough to do that. I doubt very much if he's thinking much about his wheel coming off, but he might be thinking about it a little bit later.
Well, heavy traffic. There you see Al Unser Sr., who continues to ride right on the heels of Rahal. Sparks coming up, and that's something that we've all been accustomed to seeing from the Truman car all year, Gordy.
Well, yeah, especially at Elkhart Lake. I couldn't believe as bad as that car was hitting that he was even able to finish the race, but it's not as serious here today, and I think you see it when he got down low on the racetrack where it's a little bit rougher.
Well, it was something they had prepared for, but I don't think even they expected that. Al Unser Sr., the man who has surprised everybody by coming out of the bushes. He was just a substitute driver. He was the third driver on essentially a two-car team, except for 3 500-mile races, and he leads the point standings. In effect, he leads. It's a three-way tie, and it's like a brand-new start in the 1985 point season. Moving to the inside of Dennis Firestone, going down this long front stretch, chasing Rahal. There's Rahal shooting sparks again, going into turn number 1. Shooting around the inside, down where the groove is, and he really got out of that traffic with some, and squirms just a bit coming out of turn number 1. There's Al Unser Sr. still trying to work his way through the slower traffic, and Rahal really disposed of all those people in fine fashion, Gordy.
Well, yes, he did. He got by him real quick. But, you know, if they're single file out, it's not really hard to do that. But when Al come up on him there, they were kind of two abreast, and it's definitely a little more difficult to get around them when they're in that situation.
Well, here at Pocono, in that it's a 2.5-mile racetrack, and you can travel at speeds up to 200 miles per hour, things will happen quickly, including the pit stops. Now, it's not like a stock car. You can't go 100 miles, so pit stops will be coming up within the next 10 laps or so. 24 laps have been completed. Michael Andretti looked like he was headed for victory, but problems with the wheel coming off has given the lead to Bobby Rahal. See that yellow car? He is inched near the top of the point standings after the results of the last 2 or 3 races. And guess what? He just inched into the lead. Going into turn number 1, the high bank corner, 14 degrees, high bank here for Pocono. Al Unser Sr. still looking for his first 1985 IndyCar win, is the new leader after just 36 laps. Bobby Rahal continues now in second position. Rahal, who led for about 15 laps of this race. He led during and before that the first set of pit stops, now finds himself in a position where he has to follow Al Unser Sr. What about Al Unser Sr., Gordy? Why hasn't he won so far, do you think, in 1985?
Well, he's just had a little tough luck. You know, they've been there knocking on the door all the time, and it goes that way sometimes. You just, you know, you can't seem to win, or just you don't get the car set really just how you want it, so you can really go out there and race like he's doing today. Now, he's really running. He's running real quick out there today, and his car looks much more stable going down the straightaway than Bobby Rahal's car does.
Something else we have not seen very much of this year. He hasn't charged all that often. A lot of his finishes have been a result of motoring around in 5th, 6th, or 7th. Attrition takes its toll, and all of a sudden, presto, Senior finds himself in 2nd or 3rd. Yeah. He's not waiting today.
I'm a little surprised that Al is running this hard right at the first of the race. His car, like I say, you can see it there on the track. It looks like it's much smoother than Bobby's car. It's not weaving quite so bad. He's getting a better bite of the racetrack. But his car has to be running real well, or he wouldn't be up there charging like that. He would set back because he is in the point race, and he knows how valuable that is when it comes down to the end of the season.
Yeah, if he's holding back at all, the rest of the field is really in trouble. You know, he races today, obviously, as he has for all of the 1985 season with the Penske team. They've got 3 cars that are running in the top 10 and running really solidly. Al Unser Jr. continues on the speedway, continues to turn in a tremendous performance, considering that he is driving hurt. Gordy, you've had experience with that. Sometimes that's tough to overcome, isn't it?
Well, yes, it is. You know, most of the time, unless it's right quick after the accident like little Al's is, the time that it really bothered me the most was at Milwaukee. I broke my ankle in '84 at the Speedway in May, and a week later I ran Milwaukee, and I had to do everything with 1 foot. You know, the ankle was still pretty sore yet, and I couldn't use it on the brake or anything else, and I had to use 1 foot, and it was a little bit difficult. But Al is young, and he's had a couple of weeks to heal here, and I doubt if he's really even thinking about that right at the moment.
It heals quick when you're, say, under 25.
You didn't have to.
Yeah, I understand. Well, this is a story that all of us have been following very closely this week, and has also resulted in an invitation to come as a potential relief driver to an old friend.
Floyd, you're casually dressed in jeans, a sweater, a shirt. You're not dressed to go out there and race, but you're standing by to drive relief if it is needed. Now, as a race driver, you tend to get psyched up before an event. It has to be difficult standing here not knowing if you're ever going to get out there.
Well, you're right, Gary. There's no doubt about that. We've got a lot more stops to do with a Domino Pizza car. Probably do 6 or 7 stops for the day, and it's going to be a lot later in this event before we find out for sure whether Little Al can make it. I'm confident that he can, but I'm not going to get dressed until later on until we actually know. Unfortunately, we're complicating that at the moment a little bit with some radio trouble.
Well, that was my next question. An old hand signal is a pad on top of the helmet if you need relief. It's difficult to get that signal at 200 miles an hour out here.
Yeah, but Little Al is only Little Al in name only. You know, he's an old pro. He knows what he's got to do. I'm only here to help him, and I hope that I'll be of some assistance to him so that he can win the championship. We want to get as many points today as we can.
Tom Gloy is ready if needed. Larry?
Al Unser Jr. is being shown in third position. Mario Andretti, by the way, just went one lap down, so somewhat of a surprise. Andretti in 11th position, but 2.5 miles behind. Al Unser Jr., there really was a question as early as Tuesday of this week as to whether or not he could race. The decision really didn't come down until Wednesday that, yes, he was going to attempt to drive. Is he healthy? Well, earlier this week in practice, when he winked at his wife, Shelley, the answer was yes.
2 weeks ago at Road America, Al Unser Jr. looked to be on his way to his third consecutive road course win in the Provimiville 200 when showers began falling. Unser radioed his crew for rain tires, but before he could get to the pits, this happened.
After watching the video films, I realized that I was the first one through that the track was wet enough to actually take the car and make it go off the racetrack.
The crash fractured Al's ankle, and he said, though, he'd be ready to race this weekend. But what about Al's wife, Shelley? Did she try to keep him from returning to the sport so soon?
Are you kidding? There's no way. If he wants to race, he's going to race.
The crash has left him temporarily crutch-bound and unable to enter and exit the car without total assistance from his crew chief, Dennis Swan. Nevertheless, he's ready and quickly dismisses the notion that a broken ankle should keep him on the sidelines.
I just love to drive race cars, and if I'm able to drive race cars, then I'm going to go drive them, and you know, hurt or not hurt, I'm going to go and do the best job I can do, and you know, I just love racing, and I was laying in the hospital bed when the Firecracker 400 was on TV, and I just called up the guys. They were working, building a new car at the shop, and I just wanted to tell them that I love racing. That pumped me up. You know, I'm ready to go. And
For you, maybe a little deja vu there for you, Gordy John Cox. Was that Gordy John Cox?
Well, it could very well have been.
Yeah, Al Unser Sr. is really a fascinating personality when it comes to the sport of automobile racing. Al Unser Jr., almost by surprise, moves up into second position. Al Unser Jr. running very hot after this last session of pit stops, moves past his father to the inside, and Al Unser Sr. now runs third. 44 laps are complete. Bobby Rahal leads this race with Al Unser Jr. now running in second. Running in third, Al Unser Sr. Rick Mears is fourth. Johnny Rutherford holding fourth in fifth. Holding fourth fast, I should say. Michael Andretti is in sixth position. Andretti is shown as 21 seconds behind the leaders. Remember, he is out of sync in terms of pit stops, so he, in effect, may be one pit stop behind. Danny Sullivan follows, then Pancho Carter, Emerson Fittipaldi, and Kevin Cogan in 10th position. Jack Arute, as usual, doing an intrepid job down in the pit area.
Well, Emerson Fittipaldi's teammate Sammy Swindell in the SDP oil treatment special is history. Sammy, you're out of the race. What happened?
Well, we had a slight problem with the motor. It was missing just a bit, so I just shut it off.
Your impressions, first Michigan and now Pocono, 500-mile contest. Do you like them compared to the sprint cars you're normally used to?
Well, I haven't got to run that long really yet, and